Nancy Pelosi had really been wavering over the past week or two on whether they're going to do this select committee to investigate the January 6th incident in DC. It wasn't what they would have preferred, as we'll get into. But as of this morning, it is going to happen. And here is the speaker announcing it.
With great solemnity and sadness, I'm announcing that the House will be establishing a select committee on the January 6th insurrection. Again, January 6th was one of the darkest days in our nation's history. I've said it now 3 times. It is imperative that we establish the truth of that day and ensure that an attack of that kind cannot happen, and that we root out the causes of it all.
Dan, there you have Nancy Pelosi seeming like it's the last thing she wants to do. She seemed like super reluctant there when this is totally something that she has been pushing for. But anyway, they are gonna have the select committee. This is of course because Senate Republicans just last month blocked the creation of an independent commission, despite 35 House Republicans voting in favor of it when it was in the House. And so that was going to be a bipartisan commission, literally split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans. They said no to that. And so now you're gonna have the select committee, which is likely to be a little bit less bipartisan. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Yes, I think you illustrated it really well there, that Nancy Pelosi seemed almost like reluctant to say that, okay, it's not the best thing we can do, but we're going to investigate this terrible act. I mean, it's definitely good that there's going to be some amount of accountability. I mean, on the flip side, and this will get into my broader point, the Republicans made such a hay out of Benghazi and Hillary Clinton and everything that happened there. And yeah, maybe that all wasn't like the best situation, but we're doing this sort of like trauma downplaying with what happened with January 6th. Like we're trying to move past it because it's beneficial to the Republican Party's electoral prospects to move past it. But this was an attack on the US Capitol by like members of one political party is unprecedented in the United States. And these actors are still very much in the our political discourse right now. They're in the country. They're gonna be running for office this year in smaller elections and then next year in the midterms, all right? So this is important that we do this. And it's very clear that Republicans are just like not really interested in showing accountability for this measure. You had the House Republicans there, but that was, I think, very early on when it was still kind of the jury was still out whether the Republican Party would ditch Trump or not. Now it's pretty clear that the Republican Party is going to be riding the Trump train as long as it'll take them. But overall, it is another case in which I am really concerned with why the Democrats still like have their gloves off, it seems. Like, did they not realize that they're going to be obstructed and stopped in any way possible? So they should just use the same powers and like forcing things and do any sort of like random measure they can to get as much of an eyeball on this issue so they can continue making a conversation. Just to use as a rhetorical strategy, just the way the Republicans make anything out of nothing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit mixed. Some sort of bipartisan commission would have had the downside of that the Republicans would have inevitably stopped it from accomplishing literally anything. That would have been a downside, but it would have felt for a minute like there were some Republicans in the Senate at least that could look past their fear of an even Twitterless Donald Trump to do the right thing. We didn't get that, so that sucks. That said, I know a lot of people, even before that vote, were very concerned with what some of the recommendations might be that would come out of a commission like this. Would it lead to some sort of, quasi sequel to the Patriot Act, some sort of either more locking down of DC or investigations of groups that go far beyond the Stop the Steal groups? I don't know. That's still a possibility here. And look, if your concern about this as a Republican is it will be used to make us look bad, well, so there's 2 things. One, it will make you look bad because it's bad, and your unwillingness to take it seriously, that by itself should make you look bad. That said, yeah, they're probably going to try to keep it in the news, at least partly to make the Republicans look bad. That is part of politics. I don't like it. I don't like it when the Republicans did it for 150 years during the Benghazi hearings that they had, when you had people like Kevin McCarthy literally saying Isn't it awesome that like that being in the news hurt Hillary Clinton in the election? Like so them saying now that that's what they're concerned about is a little bit of projection, a little bit of fear that's going to be done to them what they did to the Democrats. That said, I wish that we could get something, whether it was the bipartisan group or the select group, that would just be an objective look at what encouraged this, and more importantly, why wasn't seemingly anything done ahead of time to make it less violent, less damaging and destructive than it was.
Yeah, I agree with you pretty much. My one point to that would be that the government is already, unfortunately, on this path already where they are increasing their sort of dragnet of intelligence and scrutiny and security, including socialists such as like what Ken Klippenstein reported in their dragnet of intelligence, along with right-wing extremism and like far-right nationalism. So I think some of the fears that maybe some of the recommendations of this commission could lead to an increased surveillance state, I think we're already there, and I think it's going to be happening regardless of what little Congress can possibly do to extend that, right? That's a separate but very important battle there. But this is a really good rhetorical like layup, I think. The Democrats should play this out as long as possible to stay on the offense, to force Republicans to be on the defense for a change, and to distract them as well, because there's infrastructure deals, there's voting rights stuff, there's filibuster stuff, probably not likely, there's reconciliation. This is also like an information battle as well. It doesn't seem like the Democratic Party is equipped to do that game as well as the politics of it. And they're not really good at the politics of it, to be fair.
No, they're certainly not. But one related little thing that I want to throw out that we didn't get to yesterday was there has been the first sentencing related to January 6th. This is a 49-year-old Indiana woman, Anna Morgan Lloyd, pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor count of demonstrating inside the Capitol. She was sentenced to 3 years of probation. She has to perform 40 hours of community service and pay $500 in restitution. If that happened to me, I would consider it pretty annoying, but it's also not, this is not in line with the way that, for instance, Tucker Carlson has been talking about this, that they're hunting down everybody and their families are gonna lock them up and they'll never see the light of day. Like, that's not to say that we shouldn't have concerns about how that event might be used by people who weren't a part of it, but at least with the first sentencing, it doesn't look like they're going as insane as the United States justice system sometimes does. So we'll see. There's going to be hundreds of other people. I mean, there were 10,000 people at the Capitol. There were 800 who broke in. There's going to be a lot more sentencings, but so far it looks fairly restrained, I think.
Yeah, from what I heard really fast, I'll just say that I think the judge in that case said that this is one instance where they'll be kind of light on the sentencing, but shouldn't be expected for all the cases. So again, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly gonna come down to what evidence they actually have. I mean, maybe this woman just broke into the Capitol and rampaged around. If she didn't steal anything, if they don't have footage of her breaking things or chanting, murder the vice president, then that's gonna help. For those who did that, it might be a little bit rougher on you.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.